You're listening to the Third Coast Gridiron H-Town's podcast on the LSG Network with your host, Marc Henry.
We're headed to Week 10, playoffs on the line, district titles on the line, big games in the H, and we'll talk about a couple of those as well as recap the Atascocita North Shore game from last week right here on the Third Coast Gridiron, the TCG, on the Lone Star Gridiron Network. What a game, and we were in the building for it. We'll talk about that, a few scores from last week, and a couple of big games with playoff implications on deck, as well as some post-game reaction from that North Shore Atascocita game right here on the TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron. I'm your host, Marc Henry. We'll take a small break, and we'll be right back, and we'll dive into some scores from the previous week right here on the Third Coast Gridiron, the TCG on the LSC Network. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to take your game to the next level? Whether you're an athlete, coach, or just someone striving for more success in life, the Winner's Workshop is your secret weapon. Yes, this award-winning course has transformed thousands of lives, teaching the game-changing principles of sports psychology that Fortune 500 companies, coaches, and top performers all use to win. The Winner's Workshop, subtitled How Sports Psychology Can Make You a Champion, is now available on CoachTube for a fraction of the original $499 price. The Winner's Workshop will help you master focus, mindset, and breakthroughs to make you a champion. Click on the link in the show notes or head over to LoneStarGridiron.com and click on the ad today to unlock your full potential.
Let's talk about a few scores from last week. Davis gets a big 42-7 win over Aldine. Davis is playing very, very well. I like what they're doing over there. Shout out to Coach C. I'm going to have to reach out to him and get him on the show and talk about his team this year. And they make a playoff march. They're doing really, really well over there, and they get a big win. Shadow Creek over Pearland 41-28. Big win for Shadow Creek as they push towards the playoffs. A team that you might need to keep an eye on. Shadow View over Goose Creek 27-21. Big win. Clear Falls over Clearbrook 70-14. Conroe is a team you need to know. 42-36 over Caney Creek. Big win for those guys. Cy-Fair takes care of Cypress Creek 8-0. Deer Park over Brazos Wood 49-21. Big win for those guys. Elkins gets by Dulles 52-7. Ridge Point blanks Clements 77-0. Fulshire stays rolling 66-7 over George Ranch. Big win for those guys. Fulshire's been a team that's been playing well. How about Heights, man? Shout out to my guy Coach Dixon over there having another successful season for Heights, 22-0 over Bel Air, who came in as a team that we thought maybe they could push for a playoff. They still might get in, but listen, Heights has been a perennial playoff team coming out of HISD ranks each year, and they get the big win. Strake Jesuit over A-Leaf Taylor, 54-39. Jersey Village over Cypress Ridge, 37-24. Tompkins gets by Seven Lakes, 31-19. Cinco Ranch over Maid Creek, 47-38. That Katy district is always tough. But let's talk about Klein Kane over Collins, and a big win for those guys as they stay close to knocking on the door of another playoff appearance, 45-35 over Collins. That was a big win for those guys. I like what Kane's doing. Maxwell Hedrick's a guy over there, big-time receiver who may not be, getting a lot of love, but he's getting some attention from some colleges around the country. He's a guy that's going to play on Saturdays, and you'll see that from those guys. And Kane's usually one of those teams that, a couple of rounds deep in the playoffs every year. Lots of talent over there, and those guys in that district probably will be a team that makes another run. We'll see how it goes. These matchups we'll start to see shape up here in the next week or so, especially after next week and the districts are wrapped up. But I like what Klein Kane's doing over there. There's a very good chance that they could come out of that district and make a deep playoff run. But we're going to come back, take a small break. We're going to come back and talk about that Atascocita North Shore game. Also, we got some post-game interviews with a couple of key players that stood out from that particular game, man. What a contest, what a game, what an atmosphere. And we'll talk about that and more after we take this break here on the Third Coast Gridiron, the TCG, right here on the LSG Network.
Hey, coaches, you may have already missed the boat on getting your own coaches show this season on Lone Star Gridiron, but did you know we're doing basketball shows this year? That's right. If you're a basketball coach and you want your own coaches show, we have a great business model that allows you or your booster club to make money from the show and at the same time promote your program, your kids, and all the amazing things happening with your basketball team. To find out how you can get your very own basketball coaches show, reach out to Chris at 713-269-4620.
23-6A matchup last week was a barn burner featuring two teams that know each other very well. We talked about this on last week. Atascocita North Shore lived up to the billing. A 27-23 victory, comeback victory that North Shore gets over Atascocita. This is the 9th time that Atascocita has fallen to North Shore. They just have their number. Now, great game by Atascocita. They came out, they played well, they established a run with Corday Mack. They had everything rolling. They go into halftime up 23-20, and North Shore's defense came in and made the adjustments. This is a senior-heavy team with veterans that have been in big games and playoff games and state title games, and they showed up at the end and took the victory 27-23. It came down to the final few plays in the fourth quarter as Caleb Bailey hits Cameron Smith on what could be one of the best catches I've seen all year to get the game or to get the ball inside the 5. This was a great game. We're talking about, listen, over 10,000 fans in attendance, a raucous crowd. The North Shore Mustangs were on the road. The bands were blaring. I mean, it was everything that you want in a crucial high school football game. Everybody that you can think of was in the building, as well as us, the Third Coast Gridiron. And it was just a great display of resolve and comeback ability by North Shore. But the big play in the fourth quarter with less than a minute left, Bailey hits Cameron Smith streaking down the sideline, and that sets him up 2 plays later. Bailey finds Cornell Farrakhan Jr. in the back of the end zone on a 5-yard touchdown pass with 6 seconds to go. And they take down a great Atascocita team, 27-23. I think that this Atascocita team is going to be a team that will make a deep playoff run. Like I said, Corday Mack was just phenomenal. He had over 250 yards rushing. That run game was going. They had the pass game kind of mixed up in there, and Coach Stump had these guys ready to play. Defensively, I also thought that Atascocita played well, making key stops early in the first half to kind of, maybe I won't say stop North Shore, but at least, put up a lot of resistance. Caleb Bailey did have over 100 passing and over 100 rushing as well. But the key play was the punt that was shanked as North Shore made a stop with less than a minute left. It was an 8-yard punt, kind of put them in position on the plus side of territory on the other side of the 50. Their big play on second down, Bailey to Cameron Smith was just phenomenal. I happened to be right there, Johnny on the spot. Got a great view of it. Definitely, if you've been on social media last weekend, you saw it. But it was just a phenomenal play. Those guys have been there and done that. They are starting to kind of get into a groove. But I think that we'll see these two teams again, definitely. But North Shore is just North Shore, I think. But the Mustangs really, really showed that they have what it takes to possibly make another run. I think that Atascocita will definitely be there at the end. They're not done. And I think that Atascocita wants to play North Shore again if they get the opportunity, if things shake out that way. But, kudos to Coach Gaston and his coaching staff, the team, for not quitting, not laying down. They showed a championship mentality. And I also think that Atascocita showed a championship mentality. I know that they'll be there at the end. I know that these guys have a strong running game with Corday Mack. Torrey Blaylock was held out most of the game. He had an injury or he was ill or something was going on. But he came in the fourth quarter like gangbusters, and he made some big plays to kind of keep a couple of drives going. But, I think there were a couple of penalties down the stretch late in the fourth that kind of a holding call or something to that effect that kind of, took some momentum from them and caused them to have to punt. But North Shore's defense stood up. They didn't allow a point in the second half, and I think that was the difference in the game besides the big plays with less than a minute left. But their defense held on. Their defense did what they were supposed to do, man. And we had a chance to catch up with Caleb Bailey, Cornell Farrakhan Jr., and Cedric Henderson after the game. Let's listen to those guys talk, and you can tell the excitement was in the air. We'll start with Caleb Bailey, the 2025 quarterback, who, listen, I think college programs should be, knocking at his door. He's already got a few offers, but I think his play this year has showed that he's back. He won a state championship as a freshman for North Shore, had an injury the following year and came back his junior year, lost to Duncanville in the state title game. So we're going to talk with Caleb Bailey first. We'll talk with Cornell Farrakhan Jr., and then we will talk with Cedric Henderson after the big win over Atascocita. And then, hey, we'll come and talk about a few games in Week 10 around the H as well, right here on the TCG. Let's check out Caleb Bailey, Cornell Farrakhan Jr., and Cedric Henderson.
Marc Henry here at North Shore on top, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. You heard it right here, Caleb Bailey. Talk about that final drive.
Hey, first and foremost, I just want to thank my Lord and Savior for giving us the opportunity to go out here and produce and just have an excellent game. I know it was some things we messed up on, but there's some stuff we did do great on. And I know our two minutes we work at practice versus our own defense at the best. And we produced it out here today.
Now, what does this do for you guys? This is a tough game. The final drive, you get it done. Listen, you've been doing this since you were a freshman.
I've been doing this.
Been doing this since you was a freshman. Let's go.
Man, words can't even explain. I've been working all year, all my years since I was legit. I've been working all year. Man, words can't even explain right now. Caleb coming in. I ain't even going much catch.
Listen, man, Caleb Bailey, North Shore on top 27-23. H-Town in the building, the East Side on top. North Shore on top, the East Side 27-23. Final drive, Cornell Farrakhan Jr. makes the big catch. Talk about that route. That was an in and out. You got open. What'd you see?
Really just, during practice, we practice for moments like these. We practice situation drills. We practice how to get open on scramble drills. So I feel like the practice really came into the big moment, and I feel like we just executed well on that.
Now, this was a battle. This was a battle-tested team as well. You guys come in and late in the fourth quarter take the lead. Talk about the resiliency you guys did.
Really just we never gave up on each other. We stayed focused even through the thick and thin. Tuskegee had a lot of momentum going. So, we just had to stay focused. We could have listened to the crowd, and we just had to play North Shore football.
Now, talk about Caleb Bailey. Ice in his veins. He's been doing this a while. You guys seem to got a connection now. Late in the season. Talk about that a little bit.
Really just, working with Caleb. He's a dynamic quarterback. Couldn't ask for any better quarterback. Me and him will work routes on there, after practice, stay for an hour and stay for probably even 2 hours. So it really just shows on the field right there.
Marc Henry here, the East Side's on top 27-23, and a barn burner that goes down. Cedric Henderson here, that defense was tight. Talk about the performance in the fourth quarter.
Honestly, it just took a lot of grit, a lot of grind. We worked that in practice every day. That not giving up at the end, playing to the whistle, we worked that every day. So I'm just proud of my boys. Came through, even when it looked like it was bad, them boys came and played through, and they worked, man. We worked that.
Now, as a defense, as a unit, what are you guys sending the message to the rest of the state? They talk about the other teams around the state, but you guys have proved it tonight that you're still one of the best.
So, to that I gotta say, we still the best, and we still gonna be the best, man.
That was Caleb Bailey, Cedric Henderson, and Cornell Farrakhan Jr., three standouts from the 27-23 victory over Atascocita, man. Great game. Those two teams definitely should be playoff teams, but there's one more game on the schedule that I think will be of significance for North Shore. That's the final game of the season against Summer Creek, where they'll be back in Humble, probably at Turner Stadium, to get that contest. I think that should be a good game. Summer Creek pushed Atascocita to the limit. I believe the score was 42-41 a couple of weeks ago. And I think that this will be a game that North Shore will be looking forward to as well. Now, they got a big one against Seed King this week, but Seed King's really not on the same level this year as they have been in the past. So I expect North Shore to get that game, but that could be a game, listen, on everything. That could be a game that they could not look past. I think Seed King's definitely a team that's been a playoff team. They're kind of on the outside looking in that particular district when it comes to playoffs. Right now in 23-6A, the standings look like this. North Shore is on top at 5-0, Atascocita 4-1, Summer Creek 4-1, Kingwood 3-2, and Seed King sits at 2-3. Now, Seed King really needs this game this week against North Shore in order to crawl back into the playoff picture. So if they can pull off the upset, they would put themselves right back in there. And it could cause a three-way tie with Atascocita, Summer Creek, and North Shore. But, I think that we know that this is a big game for those guys, and they could play up to it. I see King has some talent, but I think that, overall in this particular district, we know where the championship lies. And right now, as we speak, if it was over today, it'd be on the east side at North Shore. But we're going to pause, take a quick break right here on the Third Coast Gridiron on the LSG Network. Come back and talk a couple of big games here in Week 10 in H. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to take your game to the next level? Whether you're an athlete, coach, or just someone striving for more success in life, the Winner's Workshop is your secret weapon. Yes, this award-winning course has transformed thousands of lives, teaching the game-changing principles of sports psychology that Fortune 500 companies, coaches, and top performers all use to win. The Winner's Workshop, subtitled How Sports Psychology Can Make You a Champion, is now available on CoachTube for a fraction of the original $499 price. The Winner's Workshop will help you master focus, mindset, and breakthroughs to make you a champion. Click on the link in the show notes or head over to LoneStarGridiron.com and click on the ad today to unlock your full potential.
All right, Week 10 in H-Town is going down. A couple of big games with playoff positioning, possible district titles on the line in Week 10. As we flip into November, I can't believe the season's gone so fast. It seems like yesterday we were in August. Well, we're getting close to the end, man. But let's talk about it. Week 10's got a couple of big matchups in the H that we need to talk about. Saturday, Tomball and Klein Kane. Tomball is undefeated, 6-0, 8-0. Klein Kane, we talked about them just a few minutes ago. 7-1, 5-1, 15-6A. This is a big matchup. This will be probably for the title. This is a big game for a Saturday game. But with two more victories, Tomball can clinch its 8th undefeated regular season since 1985. They're probably the number one seed going into Division II, but they can get the outright district title for the first time since 1988 if they knock off Kane. But the Hurricanes have been there and done that. This is a big game. On paper, the Hurricanes look to be one of the most talented opponents that, Tomball's face. But, hey, that's why they play the game. That's why they play the game. But this will be a big test for Klein Kane as well. We talked about senior wide receiver Marc Max Hendrick, he's got over 1,200 yards, almost 1,300 yards receiving, 11 TDs. Check this out. Look at this whopping number here. He's averaging over 20 yards a catch. Let me say that again, 20 yards a catch. Let me talk about Max just a little bit. I had a chance to meet Max. I've known Max for a long time. Let's put it like that. Probably since he was in the 7th grade. I've seen this guy mature and become one of these big-time playmakers that maybe not a lot of people talk about in the 2025 class. But Hedrick is well over 6 feet. He can jump out of the gym. He was a basketball player, track athlete as well. He picked up an offer early this offseason from Air Force, but he's starting to pick up some steam. College coaches need to get on this guy. I mean, he's a guy that's going to be, one of those guys when you look up 2 or 3 years later on down the line and he's playing on Saturday, he could be an all-conference type of player. He has that type of ceiling. He has that type of ability. 20 yards to catch is monumental. That's saying something. He gets deep when he can. Once he catches it yards after the catch, he's one of those guys. But, on the flip side for Tomball, Oswaldo Morales has been a guy that's been balling out, over 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. So this will be a game that definitely we have to keep our eye on. I think that both of these teams, we know both of these teams will be playoff teams, but could they make deep playoff runs? It depends on the matchups. But tonight, Thursday night, of course, this is being recorded Thursday morning, Ridge Point, Hightower. And Ridge Point's one of those teams that I think can get it done. Their only blemish was early in the year against Fulshire, but I think they've rebounded. They've got one of the top offensive linemen in the state in Avery Marco. They can flat out play. I like what they're doing. They're a team that can make a playoff run. We know that. They're physical up front. Austin Carlisle is one of the best signal callers that you'll find in the state. U of H commit. He's completed over 72% of his passes for well over 1,700 yards and 30 touchdowns, only 2 INTs. He's also the team's leading rusher with 520 yards on the ground, and he had a 7 TD performance against Clement. Now, Hightower, they're only giving up around 11 points a game. This is going to be a battle of the strengths for both teams. Camden Emmanuel is an Armory commit. Has been playing well for those guys as well. He's the guy that's been getting it done. Over 5 TDs last week. But now head-to-head, Ridge Point leads this series 5-1. We're going to see what happens here. This is a great game, especially on Thursday that you'll get a chance to see, man. Definitely be keeping my eye on that as they get ready for the playoffs and district championship on the line. Clear Springs, Deer Park, 2 teams that, listen, probably not a lot of people talk about. 7-1 overall is Clear Springs, 5-0 in district, same record for Deer Park. Now, historically, Deer Park's been one of those teams that's always been good, going back to the 90s. But they got something bubbling this year. Right now, it's a 3-way tie for the district title in 24-6A. Clear Springs got a big victory over Dickinson last week, and this is their best shot to get it, man. They've won 7 consecutive games, and they have one of the best quarterbacks in the area that a lot of people don't talk about in Julian Salazar. I love his pocket presence. I love what he does with the football. He doesn't make mistakes, and he's a gamer. Julian Salazar is a guy that you need to know about, and he's been great for Clear Springs this year. I also think that, this is a game that they have to win, seeding-wise. Now, Deer Park has been one of those teams that's been hot this year, man. They won 6 straight games since they lost to the Woodlands early on in the season. This is a big game. This game will be Friday night, man, and you can pull up if you're on that south side of town, that Clear Springs, that Deer Park area. Hey, it's going to be lit up over there. I like this game. I'll be keeping an eye on this one. 24-6A is on the line in this one. I love when I get to see teams that a lot of people don't talk about, man, and some of those guys over there like Julian Salazar, who may not get, all the pub and the clippings around the state, but definitely one of the best quarterbacks in the H, man. Let's talk about Bridgeland Cypress Ranch. Bridgeland is one of those teams that's always been there. You can go back to the Connor Weidman days, who's now at A&M. Bridgeland's been one of those teams that's been dominant in the past, and they're dominant again. Undefeated in district play. And Cypress Ranch is probably the closest team in that district in 16-6A that can knock those guys off if they can get it rolling. I think that Cy Ranch proved that they can get it done. They knocked off Cy Woods, who was unbeaten in a 35-34 overtime victory. Peyton Thomas was big. He had a game-time touchdown, and an extra point from Diego Afaro got them to win. But this is going to be a tough game. Bridgeland's one of those teams that plays well. We know what they've done in the past, and we know that they've been one of those teams that's been excellent when it comes to making the playoffs. In district games, Bridgeland is 12-0 under second-year coach Lonnie Madison, and 4-2 against Cy Ranch since 2018. Last year was a 42-17 victory, and this could be the chance that Cy Ranch has to knock them off, but we'll see. I think that Bridgeland's probably going to be the favorite going in just because historically they've just been better. This will actually be a Saturday game, so a couple of big Saturday games, man, that you might want to check out. And, man, if you ain't doing nothing, I know a lot of Little League football is going on Saturday, of course, college football, but when you get these Saturday contests, that's something that you don't see every day. One more game before we get out of here, Cy-Fair and Cypress Falls. Both teams come in undefeated in 17-6A, so this will probably be for the district championship. They're separated by only a couple of miles. Big rivalries, man. The Bobcats and Golden Eagles. Man, I think that, this is whoever wins the turnover battle and whoever, gets the most out of what they do well. Cy Falls started district play with 4 consecutive shutouts. This is a team that plays well on defense. So this is going to be whoever makes the least mistakes and gets in that end zone the most, man. I like this game. It's a little bit off the radar. Of course, this is the time of year where you have to take care of your business if you want to be a playoff team, if you want to make a playoff run. A couple of more big games around the 8th before we get out of here. Fort Bend Marshall and Texas City. And look at the private school ranks, St. John's and Kincaid, 2 teams looking to make a playoff run as well. We talked about Davis. I'm going to have to reach out to my guy, Coach C, and get him on. They got a big one against Westfield in 14-6A on Friday over at Planet Ford Stadium. Summer Creek and Kingwood, that's a big matchup in 21-6A. We talked about both of those teams trying to jockey for position. And the Woodlands and Conroe, big game, man. Conroe's been playing outstanding football this year. They got one of the top defensive backs in the country in Oregon commit, Dorian Brew. The Woodlands, 5-1 in district. They're 5-1 in district. This is going to be a big game. I'm telling you right now, this is a big game. Also over in the Katy School District, in that 19-6A district, Kent Tompkins knock off the Big Red Machine. We'll see. I don't know. That's a tough one. But the last time that they lost a district game, they had Jalen Milroe and Tompkins knocked them off. So big rivalry game there. We'll see. And we'll talk about that and more when we come back for the final week of the regular season next week on the TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron. We appreciate everybody that's been tapping in. You can follow us on Twitter at Third Gridiron. You can also follow me at MarkHen44 or on the Mark Sports on Twitter. Also TXTP Show on Twitter, Instagram as well. And go to onthemarksports.com for the latest, man. We're covering high school sports, high school football around the state of Texas, man, as we push towards the playoffs right here on the TCG, right here on the LSG Network. We out.